Hey folks, how's it going? Peter here with BlackRock Business, and we are going to talk about some of the different document types in Point of Sale. Don't forget to head on over to blackrockbusiness.com where we have a lot of videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, downloads, hardware, all your needs when it comes to QuickBooks, Intuit, payments, and of course, Point of Sale. So here we are. We got QuickBooks Point of Sale, of course. Like I said, going to talk about some of the type of documents. You might be asking yourself, what do you mean documents? I got a bunch of screens in Point of Sale. I make sales. I receive inventory. Well, there's actually a lot more going on in the background than you may originally believe. And by that, I mean, when you make a sale, the document is called a sales receipt, of course. When you do a receiving voucher, the document is called a receiving voucher. A document in Point of Sale is pretty much any record that you can later look up in the history of that area. Back at the beginning of time, when Point of Sale came out, the software and the interface would actually freely call these different documents, and they seemed a little bit more like documents, like in Word or what have you. But these days they're a little more hidden, but they are there. Anything that you can look up on a history, we're still going to call it documents. So, two main kinds of documents in QuickBooks Point of Sale. One is going to be posting transactional document, and the other is going to be non-posting documents, which are not transactional. Now, what the heck am I talking about? Actually, what I'm talking about is posting document will be a document that has an effect on your numbers or has an effect on your inventory and in turn your numbers because of your asset value. Non-posting documents are the type of document that it serves a purpose, but it doesn't directly affect or really affect at all your numbers, your financial numbers or your QuickBooks accounting numbers. And you can make those non-posting documents all day long and delete them, and it doesn't really matter. Now let's get into it so you can understand a little bit more what I'm speaking of. First type of document that I'm going to talk about is going to be your sales document and return document. So with this document, of course, you add different items to sell to customer. And the way that this affects your system is it's going to deplete quantities, and it's also going to write numbers to your income account. So you're going to get money into your income account. It's also going to deplete money from your asset account because these quantities are disappearing and they're no longer an asset and they turn directly into income. So the other side of this sales document is actually a return document. And I know that a lot of people are going to accept returns over here. They're going to type in their receipt number and they're going to then do returns on the items that are on that receipt. I'm going to tell you a little secret, a little workaround here. You can actually come to a sales receipt and start ringing up negative quantities, and it is the exact same thing as a return receipt. So if the customer can't find the receipt, or for some reason you're taking a return, you just can't figure out where this stuff came from or what receipt it was on, you can actually just go to make a sale, ring up the item if it still has a tag on it or if you know the item number, and then move the quantities into the negative, and now the customer actually ends up getting a refund. And you can do that back to cash, back to credit. You could put it on account. You can save and print. It'll actually come out as a return receipt. So a little trick there for you. Next, as far as our transactional documents, we're going to go over to receiving vouchers. So in the receiving voucher, this is going to affect your financials in your system because you are getting new quantities in. So it's going to populate quantities onto your inventory, and it's also going to raise your inventory asset account because these are becoming assets. Now also, I'll quickly mention, if you have the billing options in the preferences turned on, you can enter billing info here, and it's actually going to create a bill in your QuickBooks accounting, which of course is going to affect your accounts payable. So that's all the different financial touches that the receiving voucher has. And then of course, if you have already received something in and maybe you found or realized that it's broken, you may want to return some stuff to your vendor, and in that case you would head on into your receiving history. I don't have any receiving history up here apparently, but you would highlight your receiving voucher and you would choose what you're going to return to the vendor. Quick tip there. Some people notice right away when they receive something from a vendor that it's broken or ripped or whatever it is, and they don't even want to receive it. They're like, this is broken, I want to send it right back. And so they only do part of a receiving voucher and they don't receive that stuff because they want to send it back. That's a big no-no. You don't want to do that. Receive everything in because it's in your hand, receive the entire receiving voucher, and then find it in the history and do the return to vendor. Otherwise, it does not make sense to your financials. Your bill will be off. Your vendor's still going to bill you the full amount, even though you're returning stuff. So make sure you receive everything before you try and return something, even though you notice it right away. Next in our transactional documents, we have adjustment memos. Now, adjustment memos are up here on the inventory menu, and that could be cost adjustments or quantity adjustments. Mainly, the quantity adjustment is going to have an effect on your inventory. Cost adjustments will too, as far as how much your assets are worth, because your assets are really only worth the value that you paid for them, not whatever number you make up to sell them at. We can jump into a new quantity adjustment. We could say this could just be a quantity adjustment because you've noticed that it's the quantities are not right. Otherwise, we have shrinkage if something got damaged or stolen. So you're going to choose your products and change them to a new quantity. That is going to, of course, affect your inventory asset account because you're shifting how much you say that you have of this product. Implications there are fairly straightforward. You know, it's either an asset or it's not. You're either depleting or adding quantities to your inventory list. So I'm going to get out of there. So those are all the documents, by the way, so far that have a direct effect on your financials. Next, I'm going to talk about a couple of the non-posting documents. You know what? Before I go to non-posting, I am not on multi-store, but one more that is posting and has effect on your numbers, your financial numbers, is if you are on multi-store. Even though it says it is here, I don't have multiple stores set up. If you're on multi-store, you'll have a stores menu here, and you can do a transfer slip. Actually, I think it's on the inventories menu. You can create a transfer slip, and you can transfer quantities from this location to your other location, and that will shift around some of your assets because you'll have assets in different places. So they'll be on different classes in your QuickBooks Financial. So that was a quick note there. Now, to non-posting documents in QuickBooks Point of Sale. We have purchase orders. Purchase order fulfills a need. You're trying to purchase something. You want to send a message to your vendor on what you want. So purchase order, you're going to choose the vendor. You're going to add the products you want to order from that vendor. You could do this all day long. You could add 1 million products. You could create 300 purchase orders. You could send them, you could not send them. You could screw around all you want on this screen and save it. It's going to have no effect on your point of sale, no effect on your financials. I mean, the only effect it's going to have is taking up some memory in your database, I guess. But otherwise, you can create these, you can email them, you can delete them, you can tell them it's really what you want, tell them it's not what you want. Doesn't really matter. Not posting doesn't have a direct effect on your financials. So don't worry about screwing up a purchase order, except that, you know, you might get the wrong stuff or the wrong amount, I guess you should worry about it a little bit. But otherwise, don't worry as far as your system is concerned and your financials. Purchase orders have no effect on QuickBooks accounting. The next thing that has no effect on QuickBooks accounting and is only present here for the facility of a need is customer orders. There's 3 different types of customer orders. There's the sales order, the layaway, and the work order. Excuse me. Each one of these has a different purpose, obviously. Work orders to actually accomplish some sort of labor. Sales order is just kind of putting together what you believe a customer may need. And then layaway is pretty obvious. They're going to lay it away. But you can make all sorts of these as well. You know, you can add all sorts of items to it. You can add your customer to it. You can put it in a different status, which is a wonderful thing, by the way. You can make custom statuses to work it through a pipeline. And you can save these, and it's really going to do nothing at all until you convert it to making a sale, which only happens after I save it. Now, I will say there's one caveat here, because you can take a down payment on a sales order. A deposit is really what it is, but you can take a down payment or a deposit on a sales order or a work order, which I think is actually a good idea, because then you're not starting work without, you know, the customer having a reason to come back because they put some money into it. So that deposit will go onto the customer's account, and it will count towards the final receipt. So that does touch your financial. But otherwise, if you don't take a deposit, you can make these sales orders and customer orders all day long. Like I said, once again, you can make a whole ton of them. Won't really matter. They'll just sit here. They'll just be a work order or sales order, and they won't do anything until you convert them into a receipt. So that's the broad overview of QuickBooks Point of Sale and all of the different types of documents we have in here that either affect or don't affect your QuickBooks accounting. My name's Peter, and I'm with BlackRock Business. Don't forget to check out our other videos on our website, blackrockbusiness.com. You guys have a good evening. Bye-bye now.